Are there theological works you have read in the last couple of years that have had a dynamic impact upon you? Yeah? How's that? I'm going to say there's a book I continue to return to, if not physically, intellectually. And that is Bonhoeffer's Psalms book, the little tiny thing. A little tiny thing. I mean, really, read one little section a day for 30 days and read your Psalms while you're doing it. And it is one of the most dynamically useful little tools. It's so tiny, but absolutely worth it. Theological books. I have to confess, in the jumping that I've done through media spheres the last couple of years, one of my great failures has been a lack of continued reading in terms of just exploratory reading. So I've done a lot of reading that is, I got to do this. And in this way, I can say this: if you're going to buy a set of commentaries, on Scripture, or if you just want one commentary on particularly the Old Testament on a book, you really can't do worse than Keil and Delitzsch as a set. Now, Keil and Delitzsch, it's old. It'll be expensive to get, although not too bad. But each book's going to be a book, and it's filled with what you can see faithful men who have some pre-leaven working into their systems. One of the guys, I think, is even officially going to end up in the Nazi Party. No. That's the Theological Dictionary of the Old Testament. Don't slander Keil and Delitzsch. That's the Theological Dictionary of the Old Testament. New Testament, Old Testament, New Testament. In any case, they have some historical critical thoughts, right? Every once in a while there'll be things where they question the history of the Bible, but it's very rare. Usually they don't. Usually they don't give into that at all, and they're very aggressively against that. But what those books do for me, if I go to say Jeremiah 23 and open it up, I'm like, oh my goodness, it's against the who and the why. Keil and Delitzsch, 25 minutes, you'll know that passage inside out, and you'll have so many insights as to what's going on in the context. It's just a marvelous thing for your shelf. So especially as a pastor, if you haven't found them, I mean, pick the one book in the Old Testament that you know the least about, that you've always wished you knew more about, and find that version, that copy of the Keil Delitzsch commentary, which also, by the way, is public domain and available free online, which I don't recommend reading online myself, but find a copy of that, sit down with it for a bit, and you'll just be stunned at what comes out of that. And so that's where, golly, they have been my bread and butter in so many ways. The Psalter, Keil and Delitzsch. What else have I returned to? I'm trying to think of what I returned to. I just moved everything around. Hold on. I've spent a lot of time in Judish's evaluation of the charismatic claims. And I'm finding that what SmartNote continues to do is you can't just read anymore. You start thinking about it. You start writing about it. And next thing you know, you have something that I keep being like, that's another book. Oh, there's another book. There's another book. And because I'm an author, I'm like, I got to publish it. And what I'm starting to realize is that SmartNotes it's not for writing books to publish. The point's not to write books to publish. The point's to write books for you, books that you understand. So going back to books, see, in that list that you have in Texas Basement Bunny Marriage is probably kind of the most important one to start with, is going back to the old books that are worth repeating again and again. The other thing I've been doing a lot of, most of my reading in the last 3 years has been on Audible, which has a terrible shortage of theology. And as a result of that, then I've done a lot of reading in various scientific inquiries, physics, telomeres. The carnivore stuff has not been without its significant deep dive pursuits. So I've done a lot of first article study, and I think that connects a little bit to my own desire to see Christianity embraced in practice rather than just kind of talked about as a theory, right? And I think that the third use, second use argument is a theory argument that has a practical answer, which is that we live on this planet, and that your ideas and your actions do have consequences on this planet. And so studying the laws of God as the pagans have learned to see them has been an inspiration to me, because I find so many times in their works things I wish I would find in the works of the leaders of the church. The number of times that I read a business book that says, if you are not absolutely committed to the very essence of who you are as a business, your business can never be great. And then I watch the LCMS just not be committed to who it is over and over again, right? I think that has theological implication. So there's also just the reality that there isn't a category of books you don't want to have, aside from, if you want a heresy shelf to laugh at it, but I don't think you need a heresy shelf. Don't have a heresy shelf. Throw that, put it where it belongs. Yeah. But hopefully this is a great question, and I hope I can ponder this more. Again, it was asked like last week too. So I hope I can ponder this more and come up with a little more of a list. I know I have one. I have one that's written down as like, if I were to teach you to be a pastor, what are the so many odd books I would have you read? But again, so many of them become a combination of things. So our dogmatics, as Lutherans at least, needs to be combined with some other on-the-ground way of seeing it. Example. I'm continuing to read, for a second time, Extreme Ownership by Jocko Willink, alongside of Man Up by Jeff Hemmer. Two books about masculinity. Well, one says it's about leadership, but it's really about masculinity. And women can do masculine things. They can be leaders, right? There are more masculine and less masculine women. It doesn't mean that male and female don't exist. Reading them beside each other, though, and then trying to understand how they go together, I find just as much theology in Jocko's work as I find in Hemmer's work. I just don't find any second article theology or third article theology in Hemmer's work. Or, excuse me, that's right, in Jocko's work. That's all in Hemmer's work. Yeah, but Jocko's theology is a theology of the true God, a theology of really the Ten Commandment God for the most part. And though he doesn't know it and he doesn't really believe in the true God, like Confucius before him, he's kind of discovered that this stuff makes sense. And when you find the pagans doing it better than us, I think we should listen to them. When they explain the Ten Commandments better than us, I think we should be like, okay, so I see what they're saying. It's not going to change. I'm going to start talking a little bit like that sometimes. So, what is leadership is fatherhood. It's what it is. Fourth commandment. It's the commandment on leadership. Why do we have to talk about leadership? Well, because the fascists talk about leadership, and they influenced our business culture via the church, actually. You can, again, Google Roseboro fascism on that one. You can dig all you want. By that influence then of fascism, meaning leadership being the way that companies have to exist, leadership has become the term we use. But the thing is, you have fascism as dictatorship, as evil, as power that you really don't want over you. And then you have kingdom as a completely lost idea, as even the king of Spain is now having to flee his own country. Dear heavens. Kingdom as a metaphor is completely lost to us now, right? It's completely gone to us. And yet the kingdom is the greater thing. The king that we have is the one who will not fall. So then seeing his rule over the universe means knowing that when the pagan says, I see, the world is like this, it's possible to say, yeah, because we already know that in our system, there's their words for it, leadership, our system, fatherhood. In our system, it connects to something far greater, namely God himself, right? But it's still it's the gateway of truth, the gateway drug of truth, of common sense, available truth. You want to call it leadership, I'm going to call it fatherhood, or even patriarchy. I'm against the patriarchy. Well, why? Because patriarchy is against women. So a woman CEO, I call the woman CEO a patriarch, and you're against that for some reason? No. Well, okay, so fatherhood naturally is the idea of seeding something, creating something, right? The one who brings it forth, the one who begets. It's a very physical thing for us as humans, and we shouldn't really be too ashamed of it, so marriage is and all that. I know people don't believe in that, but at the same time, the idea, we still seem to believe that there should be someone who should do something about something. That's what the father is. God first, and then every father to his child, and then fathers of countries and fathers of churches. It's all across the board the same thing. So studying leadership for me has been the thing I've been doing, trying to find my way to being a biblical man and a father. And that's not without the rest of it. Proverbs. I'll tell you this one. This isn't for your library, but if you're not reading Proverbs, you're a fool.